Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Miami has their new running back coach. And which conference actually would fit better for as a school, the SEC or the Big Ten? So, Tim Harris Jr., son of famous South Florida coach Ice Harris, who also served as a running back coach for the University of Miami under Al Golden. He is coming to the University of Miami, graduate of the University of Miami, ran track at the University of Miami. So, knows the school, right? Knows the school. Poached him from UCF, had, as Flo say, had quite a few titles over there at UCF. So we were able to get him, to come over here and coach running backs. So, again, similar to the other three hires, don't really know too much about the guy, but I will say that a lot of people are saying that this is the best hire that Mario has made this entire offseason. And that's pretty lofty when you think about the fact that we hired two coordinators also, as well as a linebacker coach. So to say that a running back coach is probably the best hire, that says a lot about what people think about his, coaching ability, his personality, attitude, amongst other things. So, but again, not to diminish him in any regard, I've made my feelings about running back coaches, wide receiver coaches, as well as defensive back coaches. I made that pretty clear. It's more so of an acclamation of talent and allow for those guys to figure it out on the field. The best guys are going to rise to the top. The other guys are going to go to the wayside and get recruited over. It's a cold business, but that's just what it is, right? But I will say this, though. I'm taking a new approach. I am no longer going to talk about what said coach developed or who said coach developed, right? Because I look at it like this. Because we were having I was looking at people having a Brian Hartline discussion about whether or not Brian Hartline should get a lot of credit for developing wide receivers, guys that are 4 and 5 stars already. And so, as I sat and I thought about it, I said, you know what? It's really not who's the best developer. It's about who's the best motivator, right? And I think this is going to be interesting for Tim Harris, right? Because you're walking into a room with Don Chaney, Henry Parrish, Mark Fletcher, Chris Johnson. May even put Ray in there, just certain things. But we know that we have those particular guys, Citizen. So, how well is he going to motivate those particular guys, right? Who's going to take the motivational tactics that he used? Who's going to take it the best? Who's going to put in that extra work when no one is around? Who's going to be watching film? Who's going to be out there working by themselves or working with another teammate on pass protection and, trying to, vision and things like that, understanding, okay, on this particular run play, I need to do this. And if it's not there, just take it for what it is and live to fight another down versus the person that say, hey, let me reverse field and try to go make a play. You know what I mean? So how good of a motivator is he going to be? Right. So that's just the way I look at it. But it's always good to get a former alumni back in the building coaching, especially an alumni that is just from looking at his resume, pretty accomplished in the time period that he's been coaching. Obviously, Gus Malzahn thought very highly of him to give him all of those titles that he had. Right. So that's that. So Tim Harris Jr., welcome to the U. Welcome back to the U. You know what I mean? So, I didn't watch the clip in terms of someone posted that Josh Pate was basically saying that there were murmurs that the Big Ten could be looking to eye the University of Miami and add them to the Big Ten. And so I think that would actually be the better conference for the University of Miami, right? Because one of the things that I think we as fans, right, is we're more sort of looking at it from obviously we're covering the football team, right? So we're not necessarily concerned about the academics, the demographic of students and all that particular different type of stuff like that. We're just looking at it from a standpoint of which conference is going to be best for us from a football perspective. And I wouldn't even say the SEC would even edge out the Big Ten in terms of that. You know what I mean? But the Big Ten just makes sense, right? The Big Ten now has 3 of the 4 largest media markets, and probably the 3 in order. They have the New York, they just secured the Cali, they have Chicago, and if they were to add the University of Miami, they would have Miami. So those would be the 4 biggest markets, media markets in the country. So that just makes just so much sense for the University of Miami. Also, the University of Miami, from an academic standpoint, has higher academic requirements than some SEC schools. So I'm sure they don't want to compromise anymore, especially if we're talking about a percentage of the student body. If we're talking about athletes that may represent, less than 10% of the entire student body. So obviously, I'm sure they will want to go into a conference where the academics are still strong, because let's keep it a stack. Academic requirements are what keeps certain students out of schools that certain schools may not want, right? I remember Coach Hayes made a point. He was talking about, I forgot who he was talking to, but he was asking somebody. He said, man, how many of y'all know somebody that went to the University of Miami that wasn't an athlete? Kind of makes you wonder, right? Now, I'm sure maybe other demographics of people can say, oh, well, yeah, I know somebody that went. But for the room that we were in, and I'm speaking hypothetically when I speak room, because we weren't actually physically in the same room, but just the room in terms of the media, the YouTube, none of us knew anybody, right? So, and obviously I'm not going to know anybody for the simple fact that I don't live in Miami, but those are people that lived in Miami, and they said, hey, we don't know anybody other than athletes, right? So that makes sense. Media makes sense. And the biggest one to me is NIL. And I want to kind of give an example of how that is, because somebody was saying that UM would get more exposure in the SEC. And yes, you would get more exposure in the southern region, but you're not getting that much exposure in LA. You're not getting that much exposure in Chicago. You're not getting that much exposure in New York. You'll get some exposure in Miami or whatever the situation is. But being able to play in those particular markets have more eyes on you. So when we talk about NIL, so let's take an example. Let's take Cam Kitchens, for instance, right? And if we're looking at NIL for what NIL is supposed to be, name, image, and likeness, how marketable are you? You can have a situation, we're in the Big Ten. Cam Kitchens, let's say Cam Kitchens the best safety in the Big Ten. So let's say, for instance, a company that has facilities in LA, Chicago, and New York. Let's say, for instance, hey, Cam, we want you to be the face of this new product we're coming out. So Cam Kitchens will be on a billboard in LA, Chicago, New York, and Miami, the 4 biggest media markets. So you'll have people from these particular big areas like, who's that? Cam Kitchens, who? University of Miami? They may be more inclined to tune in and watch a University of Miami game. Not saying that you can't get that in the Southeastern Conference, but it's big business. It's a big deal. The potential of major networks, obviously, because ESPN is operating in New York and it's also, Connecticut or whatever, Greenwich, and also operating in LA, obviously. Well, Fox is operating in LA and stuff like that. So you got the opportunity for them to actually sit there and talk about that particular school. And the last thing, and this may rub some people the wrong way, but I saw it with my own 2 eyes. The overall Miami fan base does not fit with the SEC fan base. It doesn't. I had the pleasure in 2018 of going to watch Miami play LSU in Jerry's World. Obviously, we lost that game, but I was in a good section. I was sitting around some very passionate Miami fans. We had a good time. To be honest, I didn't even ask anybody's name, right? We're just there. You know, we're supporting our team. But it was like when I walked out, you know, I'm walking back to my car. You got the LSU fans. Hey, Miami, it ain't 2000 anymore, you know. Y'all just keep building and maybe, you know, y'all can beat us one day. You know, and I'm just like, you know, I'm taking it, letting it rub off on me or whatever like that. To my immediate right, it was what I call some snooty Miami fans. And so as I'm walking, they're walking beside me, right? They're adjacent to me, they're walking. So I'm walking, they're walking. So to my left, there's some LSU fans. And they're just Baton Rouge or whatever, you know, Go Tigers, what, you know, just having fun. The snooty Miami fans next to me, they say, y'all need to act like y'all been here before. Y'all gonna celebrate tonight, then go back to your trailer parks tomorrow. And I said to myself, I said, you know, I'm in the South, right? I'm around Alabama fans, Auburn fans, LSU fans. Never have I ever heard of any one of them referring to their fan bases living in trailer parks. Never. Miami fans, trailer hassy. Gainesville is full of trailer parks. So it's just a certain snootiness that I just do not feel what they mesh with SEC fan base, right? And that's just from an athletic standpoint. And obviously, if we're speaking from a student standpoint, I don't feel like students that attend the University of Miami have anything in common with students that attend Alabama, LSU. And it's raining, so it's kind of loud. But I think they fit more with just the Big Ten brass, so to speak. But anyway, man, the rain is loud. So like, share, subscribe, comment. As always, it's all about the you.